Hello, pre-algebra, and welcome to Lesson 1 of Unit 5. We are starting our unit on equations and inequalities, and we're going to dominate this unit like usual. Just remember to do your best, work hard, and don't give up until you understand every little bit. That's the key to success with anything, not just mathematics. So, how do we solve equations? Last unit we did expressions, and expressions leads the way to equations. So today we're doing multiplication and division equations, but these rules apply to addition and subtraction equations as well. So what we have here are called the properties of equality. So what they say is that if you multiply an equation by the same number on both sides, it remains equal. So 2 equals 2 is an equation. If I multiply both sides by 5, 10 equals 10 is still true. Okay, same thing with division. If I divided those equations by 5, we get back to 2 equals 2. Same thing with addition. 2 plus 2 is 4, and then 2 plus 2 is 4. Same thing with subtraction. Minus 1 on both sides. 4 minus 1 is 3. 4 minus 1 is 3. Okay, so we're going to use those properties of equality to help us balance the equation because we know it's equal on both sides. And as long as we keep it balanced, we can get rid of numbers to get the variable by itself. So that's the basic principle of solving any equation. Let's take a look at some of these equations. So in this case, we have a variable on the right side, which I don't like, but we can solve it with it over there. Normally the variables are on the left side, like in 1C and 1B. We have multiplication here. So you always have to look at what's in the problem, and then you have to undo it. Okay, so if multiplication is in the problem, the opposite of multiply is divide, and vice versa. If it were division, we would multiply. So we're going to divide both sides by 5.6. I'm kind of limited here in my space because it's like these problems are ridiculously cramped close together. So if I do 5.6x divided by 5.6, if you remember from the last unit, right, when we did factoring, we did this. These turn into 1, okay, and you're left with 1x equals, my answer will be on the other side. Negative 19.6 divided by 5.6. Yes, I'm using a calculator because I'm not doing that in my head. Negative 3.5. I could have told you off the top of my head that it's going to be negative because you have a negative divided by a positive. All right, down here we have a little bit more room to work. So this time the variable is on the left-hand side, which is a little bit easier to do, in my opinion. We have a negative number. Your goal is always to get a positive answer. So anytime you have negatives flying around, you got to get rid of the negatives. So this time we're going to divide, and I'm using a fraction bar. You could also use the division symbol, so I'll show you that over here. Okay, 13.6, and it's negative. Now, if I use the fraction bar, division symbol, I put parentheses around it, otherwise it looks a little bit funky. Excuse me. A equals 217.6 divided by negative 13.6 equals negative 16. Okay, once again, I could have told you it's going to be negative. I couldn't have told you off the top of my head, without doing long division and moving decimals around, that it was 16. Okay, now, one nice thing about equations, which was not nice about the last unit, is you can check your answer. So what I can do is I can check, there's my negative 16. I can check to see if my answer is right. So I'm going to plug it in now. Negative 13.6 times negative 16. Okay, I don't know if that's reversed for you, equals 217.6. So when we come to a quiz or a test, there's no excuse for getting any wrong answers because you can always check it. Whether it's multiple choice or not, you can always just take a second and double check to make sure your answer's right. So no excuses from here on out. I'm not going to waste your time and do these two. It's the same thing. You're going to divide by negative 20.9. You're going to divide by negative 13.2. Let's look at a word problem. The camera is in the way. Get out of the way, Mr. Flannery. Your face is just all up in the place. I did that to rhyme, in case you're wondering why I said place. A 1-year in-state camping permit for New Mexico State Parks costs $180. The total income from the camping permits is $80,280 for the first day of sales. Write and solve an equation to figure out how many permits were purchased. So it's $180 per permit the first day, $8,280. How do we get the number of permits? You take it, divide by 180, divide 180,